Howdy lads, welcome back to a new video. In this one I want to talk to you about something which I think a lot of people have misconceptions about. Yes, a lot has been made this summer about Newcastle United's transfer window, but I am going to tell you right now why I believe that we have actually had a pretty fantastic window. I'm going to go over the signings, I'm going to go over some new ways of playing. I think Eddie Howe might be exploring next season. And then I think we need to finish on the striker position. Starting us off at the back, the first transfer I really want to talk about is Aaron Ramsdale, who's come in as our new option in between the sticks. I know it's not James Trafford, the guy who everybody was hoping and wanting to see come through the door. But let's have it absolutely right. Aaron Ramsdale is very Premier League proven. He is an amazing character to have in the dressing room. I think it's clear Eddie Howe knows what he's getting when signing a player like Aaron Ramsdale, because he's extensively been interested in his services for a pretty long time. But apart from that, I think it's also just a different type of goalkeeper other than the one we have right now. In Nick Pope you have someone who is a very solid shot stopper, who has an amazing command of his penalty box. With Aaron Ramsdale you more so have a goalkeeper who, yes, can make great saves, but is very comfortable with playing out from the back. And I think that's another string to add to our bow when we're trying to build up from the back. And whatever way you turn it, with Martin Dubravka now having left for Burnley, we needed some competition in there, because Nick Pope, we've not really seen him stay fit for an entire season, so you really had to bring someone in there. We ended up signing someone on loan with an option to buy, not even an obligation, so I think that's a really smart bit of business from us. If we move up one line further, we come into the defense. And in the defense we have also made a signing, and a signing I'm really excited about as well. It's Malik Thiaw. Obviously Thiaw is a very young German centre-back who has come over from AC Milan, and he won't necessarily change the way we play too much, but he is one, like for example Anthony Elanga, who, spoiler alert, I won't spend too much time talking about in this particular video, because it's, for one, I have talked about him in a previous video. If you haven't seen that already, be sure to check that one out. Half of that video is relevant today. But on the other hand, it is someone who comes into a system and actually more so fits in than the manager having to find new ways of playing to facilitate that player, which isn't also necessarily a bad thing, but it's nice to have when a player comes in a little later in the window that he can just slot in straight away, and I think that's what Malik Thiaw will do for us. He is comfortable playing in a mid-block, which AC Milan have done all of last season, and I think that's what we're pretty good at as well. He's also a pretty great passer, great tackler. I don't think there's much to add to Malik Thiaw when it comes to what kind of profile he is, but we don't need this Rolls-Royce type of centre-back, because yes, Fabian Schär is able to do a lot of things when it comes to with the ball at his feet, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have to have the similar or exact same kind of player to replace his output. We can look to, for example, the time Trippier was the sole creator nearly for our team and was absolutely instrumental to our attacking play down that right hand side. Well, when he started falling off a little bit and started to lose a yard of pace and couldn't contribute in attack the same way he used to before, it was Lewis Hall who stepped up and took that mantle from him, not Tino Livramento in the same position. So it doesn't necessarily have to always come from the same position. With Thiaw, I also think his long balls are pretty great, his short passes are good enough, he doesn't take too big of a risk. So I really like that signing, and I also think he has the physicality to be more than good enough for the Premier League. But while we're on the topic of defense, before we talk about, apart from Elanga, our last permanent transfer so far this window, I want to talk about our defensive structure. Because last week we faced Aston Villa, and before that game I think there was a lot of panic both from the fan base and the neutral fans around Newcastle United. And I think most people who actually watch football and have watched the game against Aston Villa on Saturday, I think that's calmed them down a lot. It has calmed me down a lot as well. Because here's why. Eddie Howe is still our manager. He coaches such an unbelievably well-drilled press. Here is a look at how we look when we're in our mid-block, aka when we're going to press the opponent. We try to press the opponent high up the pitch, suffocate them and attack from there, because it's quite simple actually. You have less distance to cover towards goal when you win the ball high up the field, obviously. When it comes to our press, it's so unbelievably well coached. You have this four back line, 5 men in midfield and the 1 striker, but the 5 men in midfield make so that you and your striker, with you I mean one of the 5 players in the middle bracket, shall we say, can press together to a player who is in position. So your striker is either gotta be ready to hit them on the break straight away or get himself into a dangerous area when we win the ball, but it is one of those 5 midfielders who consistently steps out, presses, and when the ball moves away from that guy he was pressing, by either giving a pass to a teammate or making a run by the opposition player making a run, then that player just gets back into the 5-man midfield, and one of the other midfielders steps out and goes chasing the ball again, meaning you always have this 4-4 double bank before getting to our goal, and I think that's massively effective for us. That is the way we defend. In attack, obviously we all know how deadly Newcastle United are in transition. That's the only little thing I will say about Elanga. It's great of us that we are signing someone again who will fit what Eddie Howe has done so successfully at Newcastle United, down to the most minute detail. I think Anthony Elanga is exactly what Newcastle United look for in a winger. He has space to burn, he's physical, he's looking for his teammates, he genuinely does look like he is able to understand the running patterns of a striker. Look at how many assists he got last season for a player like Chris Wood. If only he is able to be a little more involved in zone 18 and zone 16 if he's playing on the left wing. If you don't know what those zones are, these are the zones on the pitch. You'll hear me talk a lot about zone 14 because that's genuinely just a really dangerous area. But when it comes to zone 18, you see that's right in the corner of the pitch. Anthony Elanga, his heat map covers the entire width of the right flank, I would say, or length of the right flank, I'm sorry. But Murphy does that and has then one really big heat mark as well, right by the touchline in the 16-yard box, in that zone 18, which is somewhere I would like Anthony Elanga to get a little more to as well, because I think his passing play is great, he has the pace to get there, he has the dribbling ability to get there, and I think we could score a lot of goals from those situations. But there is also one different way we are looking to attack this season, and I mean, I was anticipating this throughout the summer, and we have now seen some of that against Aston Villa, hence why I now feel comfortable sharing this with you. If this is our starting 11, with obviously the caveats of the striker role being unknown, but for now we will just put Gordon there, meaning we have Barnes on the left, Elanga on the right, and in the midfield 3, or not even Barnes on the left, I'm gonna for now put a different player there. We'll get to him in a second. So Gordon at striker, Elanga at the right wing, the 3-man midfield, obviously we know them, probably the most balanced midfield in the Premier League. I'm not saying the best midfield, don't call me too biased, I'm saying the qualities of Bruno, Tonali and Joe Linton all cancel each other out, but fill each other out is actually more so the word I'm looking for probably, because they complement each other so unbelievably nicely in that midfield. And I believe we will bear fruit from that a lot of times this season, but when we do win the ball high up the pitch. I think it would be a valuable strategy for us, and something which Eddie Howe will be looking to do more often this season, is telling Joelinton, as soon as we recover that ball, sprint all the way up to the striker role. Yes, I know, Joelinton back into a striker role. I know a lot of us are already getting anxious, but hear me out. Run forward back into that striker role. We have the ability to bypass the midfield completely and get a long ball over the top, and with a massively physical player like Joelinton, he will be able to bring it down for other players, whilst Jacob Ramsey moves from the wing in his central midfield position. Yes, that's one of the reasons I think Jacob Ramsey could be a really good signing for us. Other reasons we'll get back to after this segment. But Jacob Ramsey moves into the midfield, Joelinton moves right into the striker role, meaning you have Gordon and Elanga, or someone else, in Elanga or Murphy or Barnes, or you know what I'm talking about. One of these players can run onto Joelinton, Joelinton can bring the ball down, lay it off to them, and boom, there you have a chance, a big shot, and maybe even a possibility of scoring. I think that's something we will be looking to do a lot this season, also because we have a lot of players who have a great long ball on them. Tino Livramento, Hall, Bruno, Tonali, all of these players are, Cher, Thiaw now, all of these players have a very good long ball in their feet, so I think we will bypass the midfield in a lot of our attacks this season, and we're going to have to as well, because a lot of teams will be sitting deep against us. But I did mention it before, Jacob Ramsey is the one signing we have already made, which I haven't talked about, and I am so unbelievably excited for his arrival. Yes, he's got the unfortunate added side effect, shall we say, of PSR, where a lot of people will be talking about rather having Elliot Anderson at our club still and having Jacob Ramsey still at Aston Villa. I agree, this is something that needs to be looked at. It can't be the way to go to sell off all your academy players and replace them with players from other clubs' academies in the league. I don't think that's a really healthy model to pursue. But at the same time, I don't think it can be a stick to beat Jacob Ramsey with, because it's not his fault. Aston Villa have to sell to get in some money to sign other players, just like we did last season with Elliot Anderson. But that's pretty much the only comparison between the two, in my opinion. Because Elliot Anderson is this driving through the middle of the park, sometimes combative, actually deep-lying playmaker, whereas Jacob Ramsey is your wing-fielder hybrid, kind of like an Eberiche Eze, for example, who is really fast. His ball progression numbers are pretty good, but it is his tenacity, it is his physicality, which is the main asset of his game, and which is why I think he will slot seamlessly in Eddie Howe's system. Jacob Ramsey has the engine on him, he has the technical ability on him, he has the drive on him. The only thing is his fitness record. Can he stay fit for an entire season? But it is midfield cover, we desperately needed some midfield cover. Now being able to bring on either Ramsey or Miley off of the bench, or start Ramsey and give Joelinton or Bruno or Tonali a rest, I think that's massive for us. Ideally, I would like one more midfield signing, someone who is more of a number 10, because I think in games where opponents sit very deep against us and those long balls don't really work, we're going to look a little flat again, because I don't really see us having a different way of scoring goals. But if we were to add a number 10, or at least a creative midfielder, into that mold, I think he could operate in zone 14, like I said before, a very dangerous zone to be active in when it comes to attacking the opposition's goal. But if you have someone who is comfortable just holding onto the ball for a couple of seconds in that zone, you can have Elanga, Gordon, a striker, Murphy, Barnes, all give them a little bit more time to find a position, find their dangerous area, or find the space in the opposition's defense and get a shot off afterwards. I think that's very valuable for us. So I would really like us to be looking for another creative midfielder as well this window. But obviously there is still one position we need to talk about. It is obviously the striker I'm talking about, but I'm not going to be talking about the Isaac situation. I think that's not interesting at all anymore. It's been talked to death about. But I do want to talk about us, because at the start of the summer, or especially when those Isaac rumors started flaring up, everybody was saying the same thing. There is no way Newcastle United will survive losing Isaac. And I get what they're saying. Isaac is a unicorn, Isaac is a very, very special player, but I don't think he's essential to the way we play. And I don't think he's irreplaceable for us. I don't even think we would have to get a world-class profile in at number 9 to be able to replace him. Let's talk about Yoane Wissa. Obviously, I'm not condoning whatever he's doing at Brentford right now. Let's make that absolutely clear. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and call out Isaac for his behavior, but then applaud Wissa's behavior. But purely from a footballing perspective, Wissa would be a fantastic move for us. Because he is one of those players not only comfortable with receiving the ball from a layoff from a player like Joe Linton, because he's done so in his Brentford days when Tony was still there. That was something Thomas Frank liked to do a lot with his Brentford team. Play the ball over the top, have Tony bring it down and play it off to Mbuemo or Wissa. If we were to sign Wissa, that obviously doesn't mean he is comfortable in that role. But Wissa is also someone who can kind of make up for the unicorn elements in Alexander Isak's game. And here's what I mean. Alexander Isak had the very unique ability to turn level game states into winning game states for us, or maybe even more importantly, turn losing game states almost immediately back into level game states. And that is such an amazing ability to have in your attacking roster, because it means you don't really have to create an out-and-out chance to get yourself back into the game or get yourself in front. You kind of can trust your players to make something happen out of nothing. And I'm not saying Wissa is going to create every chance for himself, but what I am saying is that Wissa has shown throughout his Premier League career that he consistently overperforms his XG, meaning he's an above average finisher. And with someone like that, giving him these split-second chances where Joe Linton lays it up to him, four people are running onto the ball, so he has to make the decision now to shoot. I think those situations are ideal for a player like Yoane Wissa, so I really would like to see him come in. If it's not him and we're still looking for someone to play that role, I think Nicholas Jackson is the best option and the most comparable option to Yoane Wissa, shall we say, because he's again a very, very intelligent runner. A lot of jokes get made about Nicholas Jackson, or more accurately at Nicholas Jackson's expense, and I don't really think that's fair. Okay, he's missed some big chances over the last 2 seasons, that's right, there's no denying that, but he consistently gets those chances for himself as well. In 80 games for Chelsea, he's now reached about a 40 XG, and of that 40 XG, he scored about 34. With that clearly just shows you, one, okay, he's underperforming his XG a little too much to mine and everybody else's liking, but it also shows you this is a player who consistently gets chance after chance after chance in the game, and it's not like he's the Darwin Núñez who will just for weeks on end take none of the chances. He will, and a player like Eddie Howe is proven to get the best out of young players, to be able to develop young players. His underlying statistics look far more impressive than Alexander Isak's underlying statistics did when he came from Real Sociedad. I genuinely believe that there is a massive Premier League player in there, in Nicholas Jackson. He just needs to find the right team and the right coach to get that out of him, and I genuinely do believe Newcastle United could be that team. His running onto through balls, his positioning, his aerial ability are all actually really, really exciting for a striker, and he's able to dribble with the ball as well, which that's all positives. That all means that Nicholas Jackson would be able to run into the channels for us both with and without the ball. some very positives. So I would actually prefer us to sign Nicholas Jackson above Wissa, but if we ended up with Wissa, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world at all, because Wissa is definitely good enough to lead the line for us this season. Then the last option is for us to be signing a big physical number 9. Because we're going to be asking a lot of Joelinton if we want him to run up and down the pitch from central midfield to striker back to central midfield throughout the entire game, every single game this entire season. I don't think that's going to work, so I do think we have to sign a striker, maybe not necessarily now if Alexander Isak does end up staying after all, but definitely in January then afterwards. We need to sign a physical number 9, someone who can bring the ball down as well, right there. And I've got a couple of options for you. First of all, Mika Biereth at AS Monaco is one of these players who is very physical, very strong, very fast as well. So I think he could bring that ball down for his teammates. He could maybe possibly take some shots as well. We could send in some more crosses into the box to him. I think that could be a really exciting deal. He's only 23 years old, moved to Monaco in January last season and started there like an absolute house on fire. So he would cost a pretty penny probably. If you want to look at a player who we wouldn't have to pay a lot of transfer fee for, but maybe a little too excessive when it comes to his wages, but definitely someone who fits that profile of a team who is looking to play long balls more often than they were last season. I think last season we averaged about 60 long balls per game and we attempted 70 against Aston Villa last week. The striker I would suggest is bring back Alexander Mitrovic. This just seems like a no-brainer. It's a free deal, okay, he's on a 400k a week, which, I mean, if he's not willing to take a pay cut which is at least 50%, then I'm sorry, the deal has to be off the table. But purely from a player profile wise, this is a guy who is unbelievable in the air, very strong, knows where the back of the net is, has lived in the Northeast before. I think bringing back Alexander Mitrovic could be really fun stuff for us. But what profile will it be? Will it be one of these physical lads who can take some of the burden of Joelinton in those attacking scenarios? Or will it be someone like a Nicholas Jackson or like a Yohan Wissa who is more adept at running onto that ball? Please let me know in the comment section below. Also let me know if you agree with me that we have actually had a pretty good window and there is definitely some stuff for us to be looking out for this season. Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Be sure to follow us on all our socials, Magpie 24/7 on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. You know the drill, and I would like to see you in the next one. Ciao.